the Championship is back after the long international break, and our game of the weekend is the clash tonight between Middlesbrough and Ipswich at the Riverside Stadium. We're doing another live stream on our YouTube channel straight off the back of this game, so make sure you join us then for that. But in the meantime, the entire world waits in anticipation as we find out from Justin Peach, what derby is this?
Mr. Marcus Bent derby, right?
No! Why do you always go to Marcus Bent?
It's perfect. The man's played for so many clubs. Why not? Why not?
No.
It's a well-trodden path, this. Well-trodden path.
It might be, but I feel like there's a much more obvious one there in the form of the Grant Ledbetter derby. Come on, mate. That just seemed like a tap-in.
It might be the case, but like I said, there's so many to choose from. There's Kieran Dyer, there's Leroy Lita, there's Alan Armstrong if you're an early 2000s enthusiast like I am. Yeah.
Grant Ledbetter still, though. He made loads of appearances for both clubs. Is it just me who always gets Grant Ledbetter mixed up with Lee Cattermole? Am I the only one who does that?
You are... Yeah, I think you are, because they're completely different players. Lee Cattermole couldn't pass. Grant Ledbetter could.
I don't know. I don't know if it's just because they've got long names and they both played for similar clubs. But I was stunned to find out how much they've actually played together. How much do you reckon they've been on the same pitch together at club level, Justin?
I think Cattermole went back to Borough for a bit, so maybe for like a year.
They have only played with each other 9 times.
Okay.
They only played with each other when Sunderland were in League One, because they were both at Sunderland in 2009 but never shared the same pitch. Otherwise, it was usually the case that one was at Sunderland while the other one was at Middlesbrough. But that absolutely blew my mind, because I thought their careers were sort of intertwined and they just played hundreds of games together at Middlesbrough and Sunderland, but not the case. Anyway, let's get back onto the topic at hand here, because what a fascinating game this is. We've got Middlesbrough have had the second best start to the season, coming up against Ipswich, the bookies' favourites for promotion. We've been picking up form, 3 wins from 4. It's juicy stuff, Justin.
Yeah, it is. It is juicy stuff. And it's obviously where the tests start for Rob Edwards and Kieran McKenna this season, because they're both almost, you've got Borough who've been ticking along but not quite excelling, whereas you've got Ipswich who are late bloomers. I say late bloomers, late starters. And that's what makes this even more, sort of all the more, not impressive, but certainly, yeah, juicy.
Yeah, and it's pretty even, actually, because even though Middlesbrough's form has dropped off a little bit in the last few games, and Ipswich have picked up, you've got Borough have got home advantage. They've been brilliant at home this season. And there's reason to be concerned about Ipswich on the road, which we'll talk more about shortly. But yeah, as far as ding-dong clashes go between two sides, based on their starts to the season, this is right up there. And there's the added subplot, Justin, that Ipswich were close to signing Middlesbrough's main man, Hayden Hackney. In the summer, it had been widely reported that Ipswich had a Championship record offer accepted for him, but Hackney rejected it because he was holding out for a Premier League move. And even though that didn't come to fruition, Hackney has not been letting that distract him, has he? He has been one of the standout players in the division so far.
That's all the more the impressive thing, because you tend to see a lot of the time that I don't think, well, Hackney wasn't angling for a move because he rejected the move to Ipswich, but yeah, it was clear that he was holding out for something a little bit more lucrative in the top flight. But he's not let that distract him, because even in the form throughout August, he was brilliant. He's been brilliant all season. And this very much could have been the Hayden Hackney derby. It would have been a great little subplot or plot, as you might want to throw in there. But yeah, he's certainly been one of the standout players in the division. He's all-round games. I think at this level, he's almost near perfect, because he's an engine room. He's a good passer. He can get stuck in as well, but also he's creative, and he gets in the box for his late runs as well. So there's a lot to really, really like about this about Hayden Hackney and what he can do. And I think he's got a lot of room to really grow.
Oh, you are preaching to the choir, big boy, because I bloody love Hayden Hackney. I think he's one of my favourite players in the division, actually. I think it would have been such a joy to see him in this Ipswich side. And if they do go up, maybe he'll end up there next season. But for now, Borough have got him. And him and Aidan Morris in midfield are simply the best midfield duo in the Championship for me. They complement each other so well. Both very intelligent players. Both have a lot of energy. They're both class, and I imagine will both be Premier League players at some point. Could it be with Middlesbrough? Because they've obviously had an amazing start. Whether it continues or not, I can understand why people will have questions about that. We perhaps have seen the start of a decline in the last few games, with Borough having picked up just one win in their last 5. I look at their upcoming games, Justin. Ipswich, Wednesday, Wrexham, Watford, Leicester and Birmingham. Some tough games in there, some maybe not as tough, but it feels as if this is going to be a real acid test of whether this Middlesbrough side are legit automatic promotion contenders.
Well, it has to be, isn't it? You have to beat the best teams in the division to be an automatic promotion contender. So this, as you say, is the acid test. And like I said at the start, this is the test for both Rob Edwards and Kieran McKenna in getting their teams into automatic promotion contention and staying there, because consistency is a massive thing. For me, I don't think Middlesbrough are quite there yet. I do need to see more from them. Like I said, there has been a little bit of a drop-off in recent games. I think for me, I need to see them dominating games a little bit more and create more. I think creating more is actually a big thing, because that disparity in the defensive and offensive play is probably a little bit too close right now. They need to be much better going forwards and maintain that defensive discipline that they've had a really good start to the season with. I think if they can get more out of that attack, they can be an automatic promotion contender. But like we said, you need to beat the best teams. Beating Ipswich at home will certainly put them in that contention potentially.
Yeah, I completely agree with everything you say there. I feel like there has been a drop-off recently, not just in terms of results, but also in performances, because you're absolutely right, you hit the nail on the head. They've particularly struggled with creating as many clear-cut chances recently. That was always going to happen at some point, because unless you've got a squad as strong as someone like your Ipswich's, the task is getting back on that horse now for them. And Middlesbrough do have players who have yet to properly establish themselves in the team, in attack, particularly David Strelak, who's up front, cost £6.5 million. He's not really started enough games yet for us to get a real glimpse of him. Sverre Nipan's yet to get going as well. So I see no reason why Middlesbrough can't find another gear, but it's a lot easier said than done with some of those games coming up as well. Let's talk Ipswich, Justin, who will surely still be buzzing after their victory in the East Anglian derby. 16 years of hurt finally put to bed, and now they can focus on becoming that side who many predicted them to be at the beginning of the season. And the signs are that team is on its way, isn't it? 3 wins from 4. I'd be worried if I was facing Ipswich in the next few weeks.
Well, like we were talking about Blackburn in our midweek show, about getting that rearranged fixture later on. It's a bad time to play Ipswich, and I think it's a bad time to play Ipswich when they're just about to get going as well. And that's what it feels like, because that game against Norwich just before the international break was really, really impressive. It never felt like the emotions got the better of them, as you would expect in a derby. It was measured, it was controlled throughout. And when you're introducing that into your game at this point, it's massive. It really, really is. And when they continue to blend that with a very talented group of players, that's the attacking play, the defensive solidity, we know they can, with the group that they've got, can really, really knuckle down on. They find that balance. It's going to be a frightening team to be up against. So, this is a horrible game for Middlesbrough, coming in off the back of a poor run of form, but everyone's had the international break to reset, including Ipswich, which again could also be, add to that scariness that they already possess. It's Halloween's coming up, and it's very frightening, isn't it?
Oh, yeah, very spooky. I think the only concern I would have if I was an Ipswich fan is that they're yet to win away from home. And they've played pretty poorly on their travels as well. Their last away game was a draw against Bristol City, who could have won it near the end when Sinclair Armstrong had a massive chance. Before that was the abandoned Blackburn game, where they were on course to lose, but less said about that, the better. And before that, they lost at Preston and deserved to lose in that game. So that would be a concern, particularly because Middlesbrough away is a bigger challenge than all of those previously mentioned games. But confidence is growing, and the squad is gelling together nicely. They've got a couple of injury doubts with Sami Szmodics and Sindrawala Eagly, both maybes for this game. But it really doesn't matter, because their squad is so strong. And one man to fear in particular is arguably the form player in the division. It's Jayden Philogene, Justin. 5 goals in his last 3 starts. That includes a stunner against Norwich in the East Anglian derby. Yeah, he's proving to be a very hard player to stop, isn't he?
We knew what he was capable of. What he's showing now is he can just grab a game by the scruff of the neck and deliver moments. The hat-trick against Sheffield United showed that. The goal against Portsmouth, where he cuts inside and just rifles it in. And then the turn and the strike against Norwich with his weaker or stronger foot? I genuinely don't know.
Who knows at this stage?
but with that, that's the interesting thing. Actually, I think he's probably one of the worst players to defend against in the division, because he can use both his feet to great strength. So in those 1v1 situations, it's horrible. So it'll be interesting tactically to see how Middlesbrough set up, because I remember a bit of an insight into trying to cut out Kylian Mbappe a few years ago when he was in his real prime, was at the top of his game. And it was like, 1v1, you're going to struggle because he's got that ability to just beat you. So you have to cut the passing lanes into him. And it was the same with Victor Gyökeres as well, actually. Cut the passing lanes into him. And so it'll be interesting to see whether Borough do that or not, because Jaden Philogene can win a game on his own. It's as simple as that.
Yeah. Well, again, kind of following on from what I was just saying, all those goals he's scored so far have come away from home. I feel like he's maybe not got into good enough areas away from home. So it is only a handful of games, but if you get the ball into him as much as possible, he can make stuff happen. And Middlesbrough will know that, whether it's him cutting in onto his right, whether it's him shifting it onto his left. He's shown it doesn't really matter how you try to deal with him. So he's undoubtedly the main threat for Ipswich. The problem is you try to put all your focus on him. You can't afford to take your focus off any of Ipswich's other players either, because they're all very good. Chuba Akpom, for example, against his old side. Mm-hmm. The narrative is there, Justin. So there's a lot of different weapons and avenues that Ipswich can use to harm Middlesbrough. And Rob Edwards knows they'll have to be on their game if they do want to get anything from this one. Who's winning this one, Justin Peach? Middlesbrough v Ipswich Town at the Riverside Stadium tonight.
I'm going with an away win. I think Ipswich might edge it. You tell them that the away record's bad, but I think with the quality that they do possess against a Borough side who I'm yet to really... this will have to be a game where Borough really outperform any of the other games that they played so far this season. And it's almost a chance that happens. With Ipswich, you know that they're capable of winning a game despite not being very good, because they've got the individuals to do it. So I think it'll be a moment from an individual that delivers it, whether that's Jack Clark coming off the bench, Marcelino Nunes threading a pass into whoever, or Jaden Philogene doing what he does. There's individuals there who can really turn a game at the flip of a coin.
Yeah, I wonder if Ipswich win this, will Marcelino Nunes be celebrating as much as he did against as Norwich?
He almost has to, doesn't he?
They'll get Chuba Akpom to do it instead. I'm very much in agreement. Despite Ipswich's struggles on the road, I do think it is only a matter of time before Ipswich get it right. So I'm going to go with them. Middlesbrough have shown signs that they're dropping off, and this is not the kind of game you want when that's happening. And Ipswich are coming off the high of beating their big rivals. First time in 16 years. They've got the most dangerous player in the division. They've got serious strength in every possession. I think the stage is set for them to get another statement win. Will that be the case? Let's find out tonight together on the Second Tier YouTube channel. We'll be reacting live straight off the back of that game. If you can't join us, then there's no need to worry, because that episode will be in your usual podcast feeds or available to watch on YouTube not long afterwards. Justin, we'll have a quick break. After that, we'll talk about Sheffield Wednesday and make some blooming predictions. Welcome back to the Second Tier podcast. This is the preview show, and that means it must be time for this.
Wednesday Watch.
Absolutely. Sheffield Wednesday are in action again this weekend, away at Charlton on Saturday afternoon. Now, we mentioned yesterday how player and staff wages have now been paid for September, but unfortunately the problems just keep piling up for Wednesday, and this might be the most concerning update yet. That's because the Daily Mail is reporting that Sheffield Wednesday are close to being hit with a winding up petition. It's because of a tax bill to HMRC which remains unpaid, believed to be around £1 million. It's claimed the first steps towards winding up the club could be triggered in the coming days, and if they're unable to pay, that could see the club go into administration. So, desperate times, Justin, once again for Sheffield Wednesday.
Yeah, it's one of those things, it's one of those words or scenarios that you almost at the back of your mind have been like, it almost feels inevitable that this would happen, that it will catch up with them at some point, whether that be a winding up petition or administration. And it feels like it's always been lurking, hasn't it? Just sort of over your shoulder, checking back. It's never really gone away. But it doesn't make it any less sort of shocking that when the news does land, it's like, oh, okay, right. because it is headache inducing, it is anxiety inducing for supporters, because there is a real threat of losing their football club. That's not necessarily going to be the case, because a lot of football clubs do come out of this situation. But right now, it feels like it's got to be a short term pain for the long term at the football club in a very, very strange way.
Yeah, administration has always been a big possibility. You're absolutely right. I think most had hoped it would be a last resort, but ultimately, if you don't pay your bills, which Wednesday are unsurprisingly not, there's always going to be a good chance. I just thought anything like this might not happen before the regulator is properly established, but unfortunately it looks like that may not be the case now. Obviously, administration is never good. You've got the inevitable points deduction. That's before the other points deductions for missed wages. And people often don't realise administration's expensive. We experienced it as Derby fans, didn't we? There's a lot of costs the club has to cover while they're in admin. As far as I'm aware, that bill often ends up at the door of whoever takes over the club. But the silver lining here is, whatever that bill is, it's going to be a fraction of the asking price that Chansiri's put on the club. And it means a sale should be a lot more likely. I say should because you can never be sure when Chansiri's involved, but it should do. So in a strange way, this could be a reason for a bit of hope, because staying up was always going to be very unlikely this season. I think we all knew that. The ultimate goal is getting Chansiri out of the club as soon as. So you're absolutely right when you say it's short-term pain for hopefully the long-term gain. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, exactly. And this is it. It's one of those scenarios that you almost need to force it upon. An external force is needed to force it upon the club. And at the minute, it is HMRC who are saying, you need to pay your bill. We're sick of you not paying your bills. You need to do it, basically. And that's the scenario that Wednesday now in. It doesn't necessarily mean that Chansiri still doesn't have control over the club, because he does. But like you said, his negotiating position drops massively at this point.
Yeah. I mean, it was pretty low to begin with, but somehow he was still arguing that it wasn't as low as it was. So who really knows what is going to happen next? But yeah, you can somehow find a bit of hope in this, even though it's obviously not good when you hear words like winding up petition and administration. Anyway, let's get back to the football, Justin. How do you see Wednesday getting on this weekend away at Charlton?
Well, I read my notes before this news dropped, and I foresaw a Charlton win, because I think it was you on the back of a 3-game unbeaten run, then losing 5-0 at home to Coventry from a Wednesday point of view just before the international break, and with a few injuries as well, their position's a lot weaker. And Charlton team, we know they've got gears to go. They really have got gears to go. But what this news does to clubs sometimes is it really galvanises them and forces them up a gear. Don't know why, it just does. And it's an intangible, it's something you can't explain. So I was on a Charlton win. I'm now on a Wednesday win.
Wow, okay. That's quite a big swing. I think I can understand why you'd say that, but we've said it so many times with Wednesday, haven't they? Will they react positively to some bad news that's happened off the pitch? Now, this is quite a big bit of bad news compared to previous bits of bad news, but still, I struggle to personally see a Wednesday win, because as I've said many a time, I really like Charlton. I've been impressed with them every time I've seen them, particularly at the Valley. They've done really well at home this season. Quite hard to tell where Sheffield Wednesday will be after this latest bits of news, and also coming off the back of a 5-0 thrashing against Coventry, we need to remember. They've also got a few injuries racking up as well, and need to remind everyone that Wednesday don't exactly have the luxury of having squad players. So I think you've got to be backing Charlton in this one. While you can have the hypotheticals of, it may inspire a reaction from the Wednesday players, how many reactions can they really inspire after the several bits of bad news that they've had over the first 9 games of the season? Just quickly, Justin, we'll get onto some predictions very, very shortly, but it caught my eye over the past few days seeing Danny Rawle, of course, the former Wednesday manager, getting linked with the Rangers job. He'd reportedly been interviewed about it, but has now ruled himself out of the job. I was surprised that he would have been interested in it in the first place, to be honest. I thought he'd be looking at top end of the Championship, Bundesliga, maybe Premier League. So I don't really see the attraction of the Rangers job, personally.
Well, that's probably why he turned it down.
Well, he turned it down, but he obviously showed a bit of an interest to go and do an interview.
Yeah, I think it's quite easy to forget the Rangers are a massive football club. Whether the SPL, or sorry, the Scottish Premier League, it is what it is. It's not as strong as the Championship or other leagues that Danny Rule probably could get a job in. But Rangers as a club, as an entity, is absolutely massive, and that could catapult your career. We saw Ange Postecoglou get a job at bloody Spurs after his Celtic, however that went, by the way. But it can be a good gateway into a better job at some point.
That's one example, but I'm thinking of all the Rangers managers from the past few years who have really not benefited from going there. Yeah,
Celtic managers have in recent years benefited more so than Rangers. Although Gerrard did get a stint at Aston Villa, for example, so it can happen. It can happen. So I'm not surprised he's turned it down, because Rangers are an absolute mess at the moment. But it does mean that Kevin Muscat is back on these shores, because he's next in line.
Yeah,
that's what Muscat that.
Paddy Kenny thinks about that. It's I mean, you're absolutely right. Rangers are a massive club, but it does seem like a mess there, and a bit of a poison chalice, because the only way you're deemed a success is if you manage to beat Celtic to the title, which is incredibly difficult to do because they're so far ahead. So what is the appeal? I really don't know, especially for a guy like Danny Rule, who will get plenty of offers over the next 12 months. I know he's ultimately rejected the job, as you say, but the fact he even showed an interest in the first place is just quite surprising to me. Anyway, let's have a look ahead to the weekend in the Championship, and in each preview episode of the second tier, Justin and I will each pick a banker, a team we think is guaranteed to win this coming weekend, as well as an outsider, so someone we think is going to win but is bigger odds with the bookies than their opponents. We're tracking how we do as the season goes on. It's 1 point for a correct banker, 2 points for an outsider. Whoever loses has to do a forfeit, which is to become a Frank Lampard superfan. For the day, the current scores are 10-6 to myself. It's after I got a full house last time out. I've taken a commanding lead, in large part down to Justin Peach only getting 1 point in the last 3 game weeks. This can't go on, can it, Justin?
No, it can't. I'm not gonna
really set you up there for it can't.
But it can't though, can it? Because I need to back myself. I need to back myself. I'm not Mick McCarthy in this scenario. It won't go on, Ryan. It won't go on. And I tell you, it will not.
Well, that's very interesting. Let's see how he's going to turn his fortunes around this weekend, ladies and gents, with his banker.
It's Birmingham City to win at home to Hull City on Saturday afternoon. This is such a big game for Birmingham and Chris Davis, isn't it? Because it feels like it's been ages since we watched that dire game, the Hollywood derby between Wrexham and Birmingham, where the genuinely best bit about that game was watching the poplar trees bend in the wind. It was a bad game, and that's probably as bad of indictment on Chris Davis's football at the moment as you could possibly throw at them. But at home to Hull is a nice one. But first and foremost, Hull they're a good team. They're a decent side, and they can really, really do some damage going forwards. You've got Ryan Giles and Ollie McBurney, the two most prolific chance creators, goal scorers, link-up duo, if you like, in the Championship so far. But they are a leaky side. They are. I know they were defensively resolute against Sheffield United just before the international break, but they have conceded the joint second most in the division, and that doesn't change in one game. But Birmingham are goal shy. We know this. And they will need to take the game to Hull in order to, I think, satisfy a home crowd that is getting restless. So Chris Davis needs to show that he's okay with letting the leash off of his side. This is a big one. Yeah,
I'm surprised you didn't mention that Ollie McBurney won Player of the Month in the Championship for September, and he was given the award by Ryan Giles, which feels very apt considering he has assisted him so many times over the past few weeks. It was just very good content, and that's the kind of stuff that I will always applaud. But yeah, Birmingham, this is a massive game for them and for Chris Davis. I think from my perspective, the pressure on Chris Davis has kind of left my consciousness because of that game being on the Friday when we last covered any Championship games, and everything that's been going on with Paolo Pezzolano and Liam Manning at Norwich. So it's quite easy to forget how much pressure Davis has been under, because it is just 1 win in 7. It's not been going very well at all. And it is just purely speculation on my behalf, but I look at how ambitious Birmingham's owners are, and if they are struggling and not in promotion contention like they'd expect them to be this season, then I can only be more and more concerned about Chris Davis's job security. So with that being said, Justin, would we even go as far to say as this is a must-win game for Chris Davis and Birmingham if he is to hold on to his job.
I think it is a must-win game, mainly just because Birmingham need to get points on the board and get some form and momentum brewing. Really, that's really important because it feels like they've not been able to do that all season. They've been quite inconsistent results-wise. So in that sense, it is a must-win. In terms of pressure, I don't think it is because I think there is a bit more leeway with Chris Davis because he's still young. He's a talented coach, and this is pretty much a new attack, isn't it? That he's dealing with. These, a lot of these players weren't there last season. So he's piecing them together. And I think something that has gone under the radar is I do think recruitment was a little bit bitty and bobby, especially in that final third, which ultimately is meant Chris Davis has been trying to find the right combination to really get things going. So no, I don't think he's in a must-win scenario for his job, but he is if he wants to create something of this season for Birmingham.
Okay. Just feels slightly contradictory, but I do kind of understand where you're coming from to an extent.
Yeah, I know what you mean with it being a contradiction because ultimately Chris Davis is going to be measured against winning promotion, isn't he, or competing for promotion? But at the same time, you don't win promotion in October. If it gets to November and he's still struggling, then yes, pressure's there. But I think this game, in that sense, is not a must-win.
No, that's absolutely fair. Yeah, that's a valid point. Let's go to my banker for this weekend. I've gone with Leicester City to win at home to Portsmouth on Saturday night. Yeah, this game's been played at 7:45 on a Saturday night. I could not think of a worse time to be watching a game of football, Justin.
Yeah, I think when you're 25, you're probably just getting ready to go out, aren't you? Now we're in our 30s, our feet are up and we're watching something random on a Saturday night.
I want to watch 1% Club or something like that, I just can't. Saturday night, I genuinely could not pick a worse time in the week for there to be a game of football, especially if I was actually going to said game of football, because won't get home till 10:10.
Well, the Portsmouth fans, yeah.
Bloody Portsmouth fans, God. Well, they'll have to spend the night in Leicester, won't they?
Even worse.
I wanted to avoid that obvious joke, but
hey, East Midlands rivalry. Come on,
I was going to say we're from the East Midlands, so we've got to give some jabs out somewhere, haven't we? But yeah, let's talk about the game itself, because Leicester have started the season well, 16 points from 9 games, sat third unbeaten in 7, ticking along nicely without particularly pulling up any trees, because I can't say I've been massively impressed with them. At times they have been guilty of just passing to Abdul Fattah and hoping he does something with it. And while it's not a bad tactic because he is their most talented player, they haven't been the most free-flowing in attack, put it that way. I suppose the big question is it a sign of a good team when they're getting results despite not playing well? I'm not sure, because it could also be a sign of something being fundamentally wrong with your team. But as far as results go, which is all we care about in the preview show, they should be expecting to beat Portsmouth. They had been going through a dip in form before getting their first win in 5 against Middlesbrough just before the international break. Middlesbrough had been unbeaten all season up until that point, bizarrely. But Portsmouth weren't exactly amazing in that victory and have been struggling in recent weeks. Injuries definitely haven't helped with that. Josh Murphy's going to miss the Leicester game again. Nico Schmidt, Connor Shaughnessy, Callum Lang, just some of the others missing as well. And the other thing is, with regards to the prediction of Leicester to beat Portsmouth, Portsmouth are shocking away from home. They've picked up the second fewest points on their travels last season. They've won just 4 of their 27 away games since getting promoted back to the Championship. So you've got to be fancying a Leicester win in this game and make it a wonderful Saturday night for me, with my feet up, watching this game and then watching 1% Club back on repeat.
You're gonna make your partner watch this on a Saturday night, Ryan? What?
I know, it's awful.
You know how to treat her.
That's why the schedulers are such buggers.
Yeah, it's this is an interesting one because obviously Portsmouth are in a bit weaker position, but Leicester haven't won at home since they beat Birmingham. I can't remember when it was now, back in September probably. That's probably when they were at their best. And it still didn't feel like they were at their best, if that makes sense. But that's the only game we can really go back to and go, okay, this is the Leicester you'd like to see in most weeks. But you are right, they probably do fall into the trap of trying to get the ball to Abdul Fattah and seeing what he can come up with. But I think we are seeing a little bit more come from individuals. Jordan James, I think, has, I won't say transformed the midfield direction, but he's certainly added a little bit more punch in that. In what I think, they're just a bag of ready salted crisps, Leicester, at the minute. And I think they're slowly becoming a little bit more of a funky flavour. I think that's the way I can describe them.
I mean, I've got questions with the metaphor, but I do enjoy how you went with a crisp-related pun, or metaphor rather, for a team who are very much associated with Walkers. So that's good. Why ready salted? Because I don't think they're that bad, are they? They're more like a smoky bacon, aren't they?
No, I think smoky bacon is really jazzy. That's quite a jazzy flavour for a packet of crisps. Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, okay. I thought smoky bacon was more of the more bland flavours from the non-ready salted crisp variety. What about roast chicken?
That's disgusting.
Okay.
As a flavour, that's disgusting on a crisp anyway. I remember.
Do you ever think to yourself, when you think of roast chicken flavoured crisps, they taste absolutely nothing like chicken? Does that ever cross your mind?
They just taste like oven. Do you know what I mean?
Oven.
Yeah.
You've been licking ovens again.
I imagine if you lick the inside of an oven, that's a roast chicken crisp.
I'll give it a try later and we'll see. What crisp flavour do you think is more applicable then?
To Leicester?
Yeah.
I think ready salted, because I think it's just
not that bad, is it?
It's not a case of it being that bad, but more often than not, you're going to choose a packet of ready salted crisps over potentially a really rogue flavour, like a Worcester sauce, for example. It's risky, isn't it? It's risky, but ready salted, you know what you're getting, and you know what you're getting with Leicester. They're going to deliver at some point. It's just whether or not they add a bit of cheese and onion into the mix, and they haven't yet. You know what I mean?
Is Abdul Fattawi that cheese and onion?
He's really cheese and onion, but only one cheese and onion, it's not enough. It's not enough. You need more.
No, it's a very good point, I think. Let's go to a quick break. After that, we'll talk about our outsider predictions for this weekend. Welcome back to the Second Tier podcast. We'll be here now with our outsider predictions. That was nearly English. Let's go to your outsider prediction, Justin.
Just mouth watering over the thought of crisps, I tell you.
I'm looking forward to licking some ovens later. That's what I'm excited about. Go on then, what you got?
I've gone with Bristol City to win away at Norwich City on Saturday afternoon. What a game, Ryan. What a game for so many reasons. I think firstly, Bristol City are winners in 4. Their drop-off has gone under the radar a little bit. And they have 0 midfielders available right now. Adam Reynolds just picked up an injury. So that adds a little bit of who the hell's going to play midfield? That's literally it. But the narrative here falls with Norwich. They've won just 2 games all season. They haven't won at home. It's a historical run of form at Carrow Road. Liam Manning's up against his former club for the first time. Oh, Ryan, the narrative. I'm just
so much narrative.
Yeah, I'm just
oh my God.
I'm struggling to control it. But you consider that Norwich have been so hopeless at home, and Bristol City have picked up two wins and two draws away. They've been decent, and despite their injury crisis in midfield, it's really hard to see any positives from Norwich at the moment. So when you're lacking players and they are an outsider option, I feel like I'm almost fairly confident Bristol City can pick something up here.
Yeah. So there's all the narrative is everywhere, isn't it? Look, there's some over there as well. There's some narrative. There's some on the floor over here. Christ, it's just flown past my head. All this narrative. Yeah. I will point out for anyone who's not been following Bristol City in recent weeks, in their last game against QPR, because of their lack of midfielders, they had to play Zach Viner, who's a centre-back in midfield, and Scott Twine, who's kind of a number 10, sort of, attacker form, and been playing as a midfielder as well. So it's been a bit of a struggle, hasn't it? And who is actually going to be playing in midfield for this game is, we'll find out, won't we? But yeah, you're absolutely right when it comes to Bristol City and Norwich. This was always one I had penciled down because of the Liam Manning factor. And this is his worst nightmare, really, isn't it? He's under pressure already, just lost the East Anglian derby, and now he's facing his former side, who are not too happy with him, jilting them after just a few months ago. And I can just see it now. If Bristol City do go ahead in this game, the atmosphere at Carrow Road is going to be so toxic, isn't it? And the Bristol City fans will be absolutely bloody loving it.
Can you imagine? I think if it's an early goal, it's going to be fantastic all the way through, because from a neutral point of view, I'm not lauding in any Norwich misery here. But if Bristol City go take the lead early on in the game, then the atmosphere is going to be horrific. But you have to look, you have to listen, because wow, how bad could it get? But also, if Bristol City, if it's 0-0 and Bristol City score in the 89th minute, the noise from the Norwich fans, I can imagine also being an incredible thing that you just cannot look away or turn your ears away from, however that works. So this is such a game. It's teetering, isn't it? It feels like the mood's teetering at Norwich. You lose that record against Ipswich, it's going to come to an end at some point. You can almost accept it because they're such a good side in a different stratosphere to Norwich at the moment. But Liam Manning losing to his former club, I don't want to say it. I wouldn't say it could spell the end for him, but it's hard to come back from that sort of thing, isn't it? It's crazy.
Yeah. Well, we wouldn't have been surprised if he lost his job over this international break. And we heard the reports quite early on in the break that no imminent changes were expected. But if they were to lose here, then I think we'll be having that conversation all over again come Sunday, won't we? Let's go to my outsider for this weekend. It's Watford to win away at Sheffield United on Saturday afternoon. You want some more narrative, Justin?
Yeah,
got narrative coming out of our ears right now. It's Javi Gracia's first game back in charge at Watford. It's the first time he'll be in the dugout for the Hornets in 6 years. So it's an exciting occasion for the club. He's their most successful manager for the past 35 years. And it's going to be interesting to see how he gets on. Somewhat bizarrely, he's not exactly taking over with Watford in a bad position either, because in Paolo Pezzolano's final week at the club, they won 2 and drew the other game. Were they the trickiest of games? Not really, but still, things weren't that bad. So it's not like Gracia's having to come in and pick these players up. He's coming into a pretty good position, especially considering who they've got next, because Sheffield United's stinking start hasn't shown any signs of stopping. They're the first side in Championship history to lose 8 of their first 9 games. If they fail to score against Watford, they'll become just the second side in Championship history to score only 3 goals or fewer from their first 10 games. They've been so poor going forwards all season. That's been their big issue. Even in their loss last time out against Hull, they created next to nothing for the first 85 minutes. We're just pumping in cross after cross. So that needs to have been amended during this international break. Otherwise, things won't get any better. But the bottom line is, if you're offering me the chance to go against Sheffield United as my outsider, I'm going to flip and take it. I was very surprised to see them as odds-on favourites for this game. I just cannot see why anyone will get behind that, given the circumstances, Justin.
Let's just take a moment just to look at this number 3. They've scored 3 goals all season.
Yep.
Coventry scored 27. Right? Coventry scored 27 goals. So that means Sheffield United's maximum goals is Coventry's average per game. Let that sink in just for a second.
That is a very good point. Bloody hell.
Props to me for working that maths out literally just now, by the way, while you were delivering your monologue on the game. To the point where I can't remember much of what you said, but I can imagine it was, wow, Watford are in a position of better, greater strength than Sheffield United because they were in good form and Gracia's back in charge and things are bad for Sheffield United. And that's the crux of it, isn't it?
That's the long and short of it, to be honest. Basically that.
It is a surprise to see Blades. I think this is probably one of the big triumphs of the season is the fact that Sheffield United, despite winning 1 game in 9, are favourites for a game. I mean, let's just bask in that for a moment. That's an incredible achievement.
Yeah, I don't really understand the logic behind that. I mean, they're always going to be favourites anyway because they've got home advantages in this one, but to be odds on favourites for them to be odds on favourites, that's very curious for me. But yeah, as I said, the first side in Championship history to lose 8 of their first 9 games. Of course, if they lose again here, they'll be the first side to lose 9 of their first 10. Surprisingly, haven't had the worst start in Championship history because there have been 3 sides, I believe, who have drawn 2 of their first 10 games. So that means that points-wise, Sheffield United are going to be better off than them, whatever the case. But the other curious thing is all 3 of those sides who had only won 2 points from their first 10 games, Justin, all stayed up, which may be a little bit of encouragement for Sheffield United to an extent.
They would take it, wouldn't they? They would absolutely take it because, I mean, I strangely hold out hope for the playoffs for Sheffield United and Chris Wilder, mainly because of that team that he's got. It just feels like he can get something out of it, but is 12 points a big enough gap to overcome? I just don't know. It's difficult, but what they need to do is they've got to start here. Momentum's got to start here.
They're 3 points adrift at the bottom of the table already.
Yeah, I'm talking about promotion. Go me. But you've got to look on the bright side of life, haven't you? Once in a while. So, yeah, this is a desperate situation. Every game's a must-win for Sheffield United. They've lost that cushion of having a must-not-lose game. They need to start picking up wins because wins breed confidence, and with confidence breeds form.
Yeah.
Yet to see it.
And they're facing a side with a new manager. They've got to see this as an opportunity to get things on track again. But whether they actually do, they've not shown much evidence in these first 9 games that they're close to doing it. But that's it for our predictions on the second tier preview show this week. It must be time for this.
All right. Settle down, you lot. It's time for the Craig Bryson pub quiz.
Yes, it is, Mr. Barman. It's the Craig Bryson pub quiz, and this is how it works. I'm going to give Justin 6 clues about a championship player, past or present, each more revealing than the last, and he simply has to guess who it is. They must have made over 200 championship appearances in their career, and don't forget, the Dexter Blackstock rule is in play. Justin, are you ready for your first clue?
I feel there's a bit of pressure on me now, despite this meaning absolutely nothing in the grand scheme of things, but you've got the last 2 Craig Brysons I've delivered, you've got them in pretty quick time.
Yeah, I did actually, didn't I?
So,
I think you'll get this one way or another.
Okay.
I hope we leave it to the last clue. Is all I'm going to say. Okay. Your first clue is this: I have 270 championship appearances to my name, scoring 32 goals.
272, 32. I will go
it's
with
270. Just not what I said at all.
No. It's irrelevant anyway, isn't it? I'll throw in it's a prolific midfielder, got to be, or a shite striker. Gary Medine.
Gary Medine. Unnecessary stray that he's catching there. But it's not Gary Medine. Always good to hear him mentioned, though. Your next clue, Justin, is this: my middle name is George Best.
Got to be a winger. Oh no, because he wouldn't be given the middle name after he's found his position on the football pitch, would he? Just changed it by default. He's definitely Mancunian then, isn't he? Tom Lawrence.
Oh, that's an interesting route you've gone down there, but it's not Tom Lawrence. Always good to hear him mentioned, though.
Irish?
He's just moved to Australia, hasn't he, Tom Lawrence?
I have no idea.
He's just signed for an Australian side. I can't remember which one. I think Perth Glory is standing out to me. But yeah, I thought he might come back to the Championship. Anyway, This is your third clue, Justin. In 2006, at the age of 18, I moved to Wigan Athletic for £2 million.
That's in my ballpark.
Yeah, mid-2000s is Justin's sweet spot.
For whatever reason, I loved Wigan between 2004 and 2007 as well.
Well, there you go.
He moved to the Championship for £2 million.
I didn't say to the Championship. I said to Wigan.
Sorry, to Wigan. So that was 2006, you said?
Mm-hmm.
That was the season after they had a really good year. That was the season after, but that was the season they struggled under Paul.
At the age of 18 as well.
Age of 18.
It's a lot of money back in those days for an 18-year-old.
Yeah. I can picture the squad. I'll get it on the next clue. I know I will.
If it's any consolation, I had absolutely no recollection of this guy playing for Wigan.
It probably didn't, but like I said, it's just a good era for me. Give me the next clue. I'll get it.
All right. Your next clue is this. Fourth clue. I have 24 caps for the Welsh national team and was part of the squad which got to the semi-finals of the Euros in 2016, but did not play a single game.
Do I need my tinfoil hat? It's David Carroll.
Yep, completely forgot he played for Wigan, but it is indeed David Cottrell. Do you remember him playing for Wigan?
I do, yeah.
Yeah. Oh, okay, fair enough.
Yeah.
Yeah, completely passed me by. I know he's played for a lot of clubs, but Wigan was not one I had in my repertoire. Would you like the final 2 clues, Justin?
Yeah, go on. Bit of fun.
At Championship level, I've played for 7 clubs. Most of my appearances were for Birmingham City and Sheffield United. I remember him playing a lot for Birmingham. I'm surprised he played that many games for Sheffield United.
Yeah, I'll pass me by a little bit. I do. Birmingham's quite memorable. He's got an interesting story about his Birmingham stint or how
also
he left.
Memorable. Yeah.
I can't remember what it was, but I just know it's very interesting. But yeah, the Sheffield United, I think I remember it. I think I do.
He's played for so many clubs that it is quite easy to let it completely pass you by. And the final clue, in the past year, I've tweeted, this country is run by pedos and trusting the government is like believing a stripper loves you. And it's a scripted world. Everything is fake. I've said many times we live in a giant movie.
That's only the... that doesn't even scratch the surface as David Cotter.
Yeah, it's very much the tip of the iceberg. I was going through his Twitter while trying to make a clue for this, and I think I may have lost about 60% of my brain capacity.
Yeah, your IQ's dropped considerably. It's
he's still going on about COVID. It's been 5 years, David. Let it lie, fuck's sake.
Yeah, I think the craziest thing is he's not played for Southampton.
No, yeah, he's one of the rare breeds of conspiracy-believing footballers who isn't Southampton related. So well done, David, I think.
Yeah.
But,
always good to be an outlier, isn't it?
Yeah, he's a pioneer in his own sort of way. Jesus Christ, David Cotterill. What a weird little man. Anyway, ladies and gents, this has been the Second Tier Preview Show, where we've been looking ahead to the weekend's action. And we'll be back again tonight for our reaction straight off the back of Middlesbrough v Ipswich. So it's a big game. Make sure you join us on our YouTube channel for our live reaction straight off the back of that game. If not, we'll have the reaction in your YouTube feed or your podcast feed as well, straight off the back of it. So we look forward to seeing you then for that. But otherwise, this has been the Second Tier Podcast. We'll be back again on Sunday. I've been Ryan Dilks.
I've been Justin Peach.
And a big thank you for listening.